Let's go over different information security controls, laws, and standards that you must be familiar with, especially if you're thinking about performing ethical hacking engagements or penetration testing engagements, right? So, different states, different governments have many different security regulations and laws, right? Imagine if you actually have a customer, and let's say they're, a German company. I'm just going to put here Germany, and they want you to test a branch office that probably is in New York, right, in the US. And then you are a pen tester that you're actually doing the work and performing the work from Australia, right? So, imagine, the different types of legislation that will be applied into the pen test actions depending on, the type of test and the environment and different states that you're actually crossing, right, in different boundaries, right? Now that's why you have to pay attention to laws and standards and even best practices, right, that are used to protect you in many cases, right? For example, we have this concept of a get out of jail free card, and that is a statement or a document that your customer, right, will actually give you as the pen tester to, basically prove that they are permitting you and they're allowing you to perform this type of testing and that you're authorized to basically demonstrate what an attacker can actually do, right? And that's where scope comes into place, right? And we mentioned scope a couple of times already, throughout the course, and we're going to be continuing to remind you because this is what is going to get you out of trouble, keep you, like I mentioned, out of jail, right? So the get out of jail free card, even if you're self-employee or if you actually work for a company, keep you in business, right? So whenever it comes to laws, they are all over, right? So, I'll give you a couple of examples in here. One that is very particular in the US is the law that I'm actually sharing here, right? But specifically the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, right? And I'm sharing, a manual that even though it's a few years old, still in effect in the United States environment, in the United States government. Every state within the US have their own laws. And as a matter of fact, I'm also sharing another website that is the National Conference of State and Legislatures. At least this is, of course, I'm going over in the US in the beginning. But I'm going to share with you a few other things that you have to pay attention to internationally, in Europe, many other countries. But you see, that there are different types of laws for hacking, unauthorized access, trespassing, malware, ransomware, computer extortion, denial of service attacks, and so on. So if you go down here, each of these are different laws in different states. And I'm actually based in North Carolina. So if you actually click on that, it will take you directly to the legislation and basically, the actual law, the article on what is actually prohibited, what are the jurisdictions, the exceptions in some cases, and how different people may be allowed or not allowed, of course, to access, computers. And specifically, this dictates the unlawful and willful malicious activity in a computer system. Again, this is an amazing resource for you that it extends way beyond of what is expected for the exam, right? For the exam itself, you actually need just to know, examples of these laws. They're not going to be going over in a lot of details about each of the laws of each of the geographical locations, across the world. But, a few things that you may need to, pay attention if you want to start a career in ethical hacking and in cybersecurity. Another thing that you must know is about the General Data Protection Regulation, or what we call GDPR, which is a regulation in the European Union. And this website, gdpr-info.edu, it is by a consulting company, but actually they go over every single element of the regulation itself. And at the end of the day, is to protect the consumer's data, your data, my data, in a rightful way, and how companies that use your data and individuals and organizations that handle sensitive information about yourself or about other entities and companies, how they should actually process them, how they should protect them, how should they even destroy some of this data at will if they're required. And there's a plethora of different types of principles, of course, obligations by companies, and of course, the ways to protect data in a very, very strict manner.